I'm going to keep that logo up there in the background behind me because that actually looks quite good, given that we're talking about, in today's masterclass, the idea of shock and awe. And shock and awe is one of my favorite tools in marketing. Every day, according to research that I saw a while ago, we are exposed to several thousand marketing messages. And the chances of a single marketing message cutting through all of that noise and clutter are very low, unless you can do something to stand out. And that is what shock and awe marketing is all about. And it works in pretty much any part of your marketing. So at any stage in that buyer journey that I've shared in other masterclasses, you can insert a shock and awe pack, whether it's before someone has bought or after they've bought. It is going to help your whatever you're saying to stand out and be noticed. Now, before I go any further, I want to just quickly remind you that we do have the Standout Expert Academy live online coming up on the 21st to 23rd of October. That is a 3-day virtual event on Zoom where you're going to have the opportunity to be coached by me, to learn from me, to meet other standout experts. And in the course of those 3 days, my objective is to transform your business from one that is constantly under threat from competitors to one that is competition proof. The first day is all about positioning. So if you haven't figured out how to turn what you do into a framework for results, a model, a system, or a process that is branded and has your name on that no one else can use, we're going to be talking about how to do that. We'll also talk about how to structure and write your first or next authority book, and how to build in 6 key factors that I've figured out from some of the best-selling books in history. Not just non-fiction books, but from some of the best-selling fiction books and novels. You know, what is it that makes blockbuster novels sell millions of copies? Well, I went through them and figured out 6 things that they all have in common, and which you can build into your business book in order to turn it into a book that someone wants to read, wants to act on, and wants to pass on. So that's day 1. Day 2 is all about getting paid. And in particular, it's about creating what I call a client factory. How do you create predictable, consistent, automated processes in your business to deliver leads, buyers, and referrals and repeat buyers on autopilot, so that you don't have to be there all the time cranking the handle on your marketing, and you can focus instead on delivery. And then day 3 is all about creating a range of high ticket, high value, transformative experiences for your clients. What are the big money, big ticket products and services that you should be delivering? And how do you pick the right ones for where you are in your business and who your clients are? That is the 3-day Standout Expert Academy. It is 21st to the 23rd of October, and the link to check out all of the details is there, www.thestandoutexpert.com/SOEREG, Standout Expert registration. Please go and check it out, but not until the end of this video. So, let's talk about shock and awe packs and why they are so valuable. Now, I've been in business since 2002. But back in 2007, I started delivering NLP training. I was an NLP trainer. And I very quickly realized that my competitors were charging typically $500 to $1,000 for their courses. That was what I was in competition with. And they would, when you signed up for one of their courses, what you got was a plastic ring binder, a bit like this, with a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy of an old manual in black and white that was hard to read. You know, what would happen is somebody would be trained to be an NLP trainer, and the person training them and certifying them would give them a manual to photocopy. But that manual was a photocopy of the manual that they'd got from their trainer, and they'd got that from their trainer back to the 1960s or 70s. And so they were almost, they were pretty poor quality. So I thought to myself, how do I get people to pay me more? Because I didn't want to be running NLP training courses for $500 to $1,000. What I came up with was to create a very different kind of manual. First of all, it was printed in full color. Secondly, it was in a proper, it was actually I started off in a fabric binder. It ended up in leather binders with zippers. Instead of just providing a CD of listening for people to take, I created DVDs, and so they would get a DVD, they would get a CD, and they would also get an MP3 player that was preloaded with everything. I provided colored highlighters, colored pens, note paper, everything they needed. And so it created a very different experience for the students. And that allowed me to charge $2,000 and upwards. And also it got me some very high value referrals. I ended up with students coming in from the armed forces, from global. I ended up being referred in to deliver private courses for major banks and other corporations. I had people flying in from across Europe and from Africa, and I had neuroscientists on the course, all because my competitors had made it so easy to stand out by giving cheap crap, I will not mince my words, to their students. And that was my first lesson in the value of shock and awe, or I like to call it wow packs, because of course the point is, when that pack on the right there arrives, what is the reaction that a student has? They open their envelope. I would send it in a jiffy bag by courier. They would open it, and their first reaction would be, wow, this isn't what I was expecting. And that is the reaction that you need to foster in your clients. Now, the ideal qualities of a good wow package are, first of all, when somebody gets it, it almost makes them want to make a referral immediately, because, let's say you're a lawyer and you send a wow pack to a new client. When they get it, they want to tell somebody about it and say, you'll never guess what my lawyer sent me, or you'll never guess what my dentist sent me, or you'll never guess what my business coach sent me, or whatever, whatever industry you are in. But it's kind of got that referral built in because you don't have to ask them. They want to tell people about it. It also reinforces to them that they have made the right decision in hiring you, and you can send this to new staff members, it reinforces their decision to join you. And I'll show you an example of a new hire wow pack later in this presentation. If you do it right, it will also engage them in the process. You can put things in your wow pack that will get them involved in the process before they even have a call with you, or before you show up on their door, if it's something that you deliver on site, or before they come into your property. And it's something that is visible and cool, and that starts a conversation, because one thing is they open it and they want to tell someone else. The other thing is they open it, someone sees it on their desk and says, wow, where did you get that? So if you can get that effect going in your wow pack, then you've got people referring themselves effectively. And a good wow pack is bigger and better than anything that they would have received or that they have ever received from any of your competitors. And that's really where it helps you to stand out. It's because it is something that is, that your competitors aren't matching. And here's a really important thing. It is tempting when you're putting together these packs to make it part of your sales pitch and say, and when you join us, you'll get our welcome pack with this. No. You want it to be unexpected. It is not a bonus. It's not a gift with purchase. It just turns up when they are least expecting it, because that's what makes them go, wow. Otherwise, what you get is, oh, it's finally arrived. I thought it would be here a week ago. So you do not want to let them know that it's coming. Now, let me give you some examples. And here I'm going to have to rein myself in, because over the years I have collected a lot of examples of WoW packs that I can show you. So, very topical one, even though this is actually from a few years ago. You know, we've all been through a period of shutdown, and restaurants in particular are struggling. So now would be a good time to revive a campaign that I first saw run by a restaurant in London called Dum Poot. Dum Poot. And they had shut down for a refurb for several months, which meant they had lost contact with their most regular customers. And of course, their regular customers were not going to be waiting patiently for them to open up again. They would be going and finding other restaurants. So what the owner of Dum Poot did, which was really smart, was, and it's an Indian restaurant, he put together a little gift box that had inside it a miniature copper bowl, because traditionally curries are served in metal bowls. So you had a little bowl of the kind that they used inside the restaurant. And then inside that bowl, wrapped in tissue paper, were 4 little vials, glass vials that you can see at the front there, with small amounts of the key spices that they used in their cooking. So when this arrived, first of all, you don't know what it is, because obviously it's wrapped up, it's inside another box, or it's inside an envelope. But then you open it up, and the first thing that hits you is the smell of the spices that you are used to from your favorite restaurant. And then, of course, inside was a note that said, this is when we're opening up again. They probably had some kind of discount or a free gift, get a free dessert or whatever. If they didn't, then they should have done. But the point was, it wasn't just a coupon that shows up. It is a very noticeable reminder. And it is something that no other restaurant in that neighborhood would have been doing to its regular customers. Now, it does mean that, of course, that they had to have their customers. Oops, I have just done something rather stupid there. They did need to have a list of their customers that they could go back to. And I'm not sure what's happened. I seem to have left the live video page. Yikes. Where are we? Yep, good, sorry. I lost my dashboard in Facebook. So, that's a great way to bring customers back. I mentioned before the idea of welcoming new team members. So particularly in a pandemic where team members are not coming into the office, but also if you're a work-from-home entrepreneur and you hire remote virtual employees, how do you get them onboarded? This is a sample from a company called SwagUp. They actually on SwagUp they actually had a picture of the Calendly.com welcome pack. Calendly is a company that runs an online software as a service calendar service. I couldn't find it again when I looked, but they had this. And what you've got there is, I think the top left there is a t-shirt. There's a mask branded. There's a water bottle. There's a journal. There's a pair of socks. And I think they have a laptop case, a laptop cover. All delivered in a very nice box. So when you get that, you immediately feel part of the family. Now, that could equally, the exact same pack could be sent to a new customer, and they would equally feel part of the company family. So it's useful for welcoming new team members. It's useful for welcoming new clients. This is a box that I got from Barry Baumgartner and Blue Melnick, who run a company about running virtual events. They also run virtual and live events for people like Tony Robbins and Russell Brunson and Dean Graziosi. I've mentioned them in other masterclasses. But I signed up for one of their virtual events back in January, and I got this box again: journal, water bottle, little paddles that you can hold up on screen to give feedback, hat, a set of post-it notes, stuff like that. So it's again, it's the kind of thing that if I had been going to a live event, I would have received that in the welcome bag that you get at registration. But because it's a virtual event, they sent it out by mail instead. Similar pack from Marisa Murgatroyd when Marisa ran her Live Your Message live event in March. If you've followed me for any amount of time, then you've heard me talk about Marisa many times. Marisa runs a business that is all about helping your clients to experience your services rather than just buying them or rather than just going through them. And she creates experiential courses and products. So it was inevitable, really, that she would send a box with stuff. And again, this is quite a simple one. It's you've got a booklet. There's a little worksheet that is actually laminated so you can write on it. Pens, flags, a cup. There's another door hanger. The box that you see that says "Do not open" actually had a little rubber duck because the final session had a message about lining getting all your ducks in a row. And so that was, it was tied into various aspects of the live event. This is a welcome pack from a photographer, a wedding photographer. And as you can see, this is very different from what most photographers would send out. So they've got little field notes, which is kind of a little diary or journal where you can write down key aspects of your upcoming wedding. They've got this rather nice box at the back there, all tied up with string. They've got pens. There's a color chart for choosing the colors of different aspects of the wedding. Lots of little guides, all designed to make you feel like you actually matter to this photographer. Here's another photographer. Very similar. What I will point to is the popcorn at the top left. I don't know whether this photographer actually sent popcorn, but I know a lot of people who will send a little bag of popcorn if they have any kind of video content in their Shock and Awe or Wow pack with a note saying, enjoy this while you watch the video. And that's a really, really clever idea. This is from a fitness trainer. You can see there's a little t-shirt, there's the copy of their book. Now, if you've written an authority book, the Wow Pack is the perfect way to get it to people, particularly to new clients. They've got their guidebook, they've got a shake, they've got a guarantee certificate, they've got a wristband, just the stuff that they would give them anyway, probably over the course of a few months of working together. They instead give them right up front. And that's a really good way of thinking about it is, what would I have to give them anyway as part of working with them? We'll put it all into one box and send it up front with some other information. Service providers. Here is a personal injury lawyer in Virginia, Ben Glass. And he sends a copy of his book. He sends a DVD. And by the way, DVDs and CDs are interesting because, of course, nowadays most people do not have DVDs, DVD players, and CD players. And so I saw a perfect example, a perfect way of getting past that. This is actually a Shock and Awe pack from a company called the Newsletter Pro, Sean Buck. And yes, he sends a couple of discs in his pack, but he also sends, interestingly, a little note, which I inevitably can't find now. I saw it last night. a little note that says, hey, if you can't play the DVDs or the CDs, here it is. Let me see if you can. You probably can't see that. Nope, I can't get it to focus on it. Having problems listening to the CDs, download your MP3s and then there's a link, a URL for the digital version. If you are sending anything on disk these days, that is really smart. The other alternative is to send it on some kind of USB stick. This is one from Russell Brunson, and it's credit card sized. But here's the really smart thing. That flips out and can then be plugged into your computer as a USB stick. And those are relatively cheap to produce. There's a couple of dollars. And they will, and if you can actually pay the company that produces them to put your information on them. Since I opened Sean's Wow Pack, let me explain a little bit more. So first of all, notice very bright envelope there. That is going to stand out when it lands on the doormat. That is not going to go unnoticed. Inside, 2 CDs with interviews. A little, as I say, this is a, again, view this exclusive video on demand, and also one is a webinar and one is a training video, but it's there, and rather than being hidden in a letter, it's in a very bright, on a very bright card, business card, and it's Sean Buck, the CEO's private business or personal business card. Some samples of the kind of newsletters that they produce, a success story, and then, as I said, they had the, if you can't watch this, go and listen to it here. More importantly, a copy of Sean's book. As I said before, if you've got a book, then you should put it in your Wow Pack, and then a letter that is printed to look as if it's handwritten, and it's really nicely done in that the print actually lines up with the lines on the paper and everything, and it's printed in blue, which makes it look like proper blue and red, like a proper biro, as opposed to being in standard black. So it is a very nicely put together Wow Pack, which he uses for lead generation. When you sign up online for information from him, that's what actually ends up being sent to you, whether you realize it's coming or not. Now, this is not just for information businesses. So let me give you an example from a real business, as some people like to refer to them. This is the Roof Whisperer, a company that that repairs or upgrades roofs. Again, a copy of their book. They've got a flashlight, obviously, for inspecting the inside of your roof space. They've got some little house-shaped notelets. They've got a drink holder. They've got a tape measure, and of course a letter and pens. And again, the kind of thing that they would probably take with them to a first meeting, but they've just put it into a box and sent it. And this company here, Power Control Services, they actually repair industrial electronics. And what they've done, this is a really, this is based on the value of a client to them. The more a client is worth to you, the more you can spend on these packs. So they've got a nice aluminum case, the kind of thing that tools come in, or CDs used to be boxed in by DJs. And you can actually see, now you can't tell, but in the lid there, that's actually a video player. And the idea is when you open the lid, it will start to play. You've also got a CD, a copy of their book. You can just see curling up around it there. and various other bits and pieces. Now this raises an interesting question, because I've had people say to me, well, if I'm sending a $20 or $30 case with stuff in it, what happens if they don't become a client? So one thing is you could choose to just send that to new clients who have actually signed up. The other is you can send it out with a prepaid FedEx or UPS or whoever return box. I do know of a company that actually used to send a DVD player, and with it, so they had the DVD player that opened up, and then inside it was a request saying, please return this. And because they were sending it to companies, most of the time they were getting them back. Now, nowadays, you don't actually need to send a DVD player, because you can have little cardboard video players created, or you can have them embedded in the case like this. But it's one thing to consider. If you're worried about the cost of these, that company was created. I think their shock and awe pack was about $120 each shock and awe pack. And as I say, they would just prepay the shipping back, and they used to get 80-90% of them back from the recipient. One final example to show you, and this is from a guy called Rafael Deoda. He was a member of my mastermind last year, and he is hopefully going to be on a panel at the Standout Expert Academy Live Online in October. He has just moved to Mexico, so hopefully he will be out of the woods with that. But inside, what have they got? First of all, remember I said about popcorn. A pack of popcorn. Why? Because this is all tied to viewing of a video. Copy of, inevitably, his book. As I said, if you've got one, put it in there. Multiple business cards, because he is selling to committees of people, and therefore it makes sense to send enough cards for the members of the board. I apologize if that just made a horrible noise. Copies of his newsletter, and the kind of newsletter that they produce for their clients. But he works with condos, homeowner associations. Enough of those, enough brochures for multiple board members. So, if you are selling to a committee of people, it pays to make sure that you've got enough copies of at least the key information for every person on that committee. And then finally, the sales letter. And then a more detailed, sorry, excuse me a second, I've just dropped everything on the floor. And then a more detailed sales letter with testimonials and the pitch and information about what the offer is. So that is a very well put together shock and awe pack, and it is incredibly successful for him. It's turned his business into a 7-figure business. So let's talk about how to actually put together your shock and awe box. First things first, let's make a key distinction, because it will make a big difference to the cost of shipping your box and also of putting it together. And that is the difference between flat swag and 3D. So before I showed you an aluminium case with a video player built in. That is 3D. It's probably going to be 6 or 8 inches deep. On screen there, what you've got is a little card folder with a video player built in, which could be shipped flat inside a padded envelope. At that point, the shipping goes down because you're now sending it letter post instead of parcel post. Other kinds of flat swag that you could use You know, put your offer on a little something that looks like a ticket. This one is red. I've seen them printed on gold paper before now, gold foil, because of course it was the golden ticket. $1 million bills you can get printed up by all kinds of companies. Now here's an interesting one. Most people associate this with if you're some kind of business consultant or business coach or something, if you're helping people to make money, you send them $1 million bill. But what if you were a personal shopper or a style consultant and you said, I'm going to make you look like $1 million and here's the $1 million bill here's the $1 million bill to prove it, kind of thing. Or you pin that to the front of your letter and you say, why am I sending you $1 million bill? Because I'm going to make you look $1 million. Getting a little bit larger, but still not too bulky. A journal is a great addition to flat swag. And here's one of the most interesting ones I've seen. And that is a silver platter. You know, the silver platter that you're going to serve up your solution to the client on. Again, and this is proper metal, it's not plastic. But and of course, as I mentioned, these USB sticks and things like that. So those are all things that can be put in flat swag. And of course, another bit that can go in flat swag, the book. This is by Nick James. He is also going to be speaking at the Standout Expert Academy live online. He's just come on as a client for his next book with us. Other interesting things. This is from one of Nick's campaigns. Little, I don't know if you can see that. It's one of those one of those maze puzzles where you're trying to get a, go into focus, damn you. Where you're trying to get the ball bearing through the maze. They're flat and they're very easy to send and they stand out. So that's one distinction. The other thing is always remember that quality trumps quantity when it comes to these shock and awe boxes or wow packs. You do not want to send a 40-pound box of crap. What you want is a small selection of very eye-catching and relevant items. You know, I've heard of financial planners sending blankets with and why was the blanket in there? Because ultimately I'm going to help you to sleep better at night, but until we can sort out your finances, here's a blanket to get you started. That kind of thing. So think about quantity. Think about quality rather than quantity, and just pick 3 to half a dozen things. Now, I'm not going to go through this entire list. In fact, what I will do is suggest that you pause on here. But you'll notice that there are little groups. The first one is about the packaging and the welcome letter, and maybe making the welcome letter look handwritten, because that will stand out much more than a printed welcome letter. Having something for them to watch. A video player or one of those video books that I mentioned. Having some VIP-only items. And one that I love, a little bit in much the same way as Sean sent his personal business card, you can make that kind of 10 times more impactful, by instead having a little piece of card or even a post-it note that says, now that you've come on as a VIP client, here is my personal hotline number. Do not share it with anyone else. And you give them a telephone number that they would have used to contact you anyway. But now it has higher perceived value because it's a VIP hotline. Put in copies of your authority book. Now, interestingly, all of the packs that I showed you only had one copy. I suggest that you put in 2 copies. 2 copies. Why? Because it is one for the person who has received the pack and one for them to pass on to make a referral. In fact, you could even put in 3 copies if you were really cheeky, or if you were doing this specifically for the purposes of getting referrals. Then you want some information, some materials in there that will help them to get to know you better. So bio, photographs, CDs, DVDs, articles, that kind of thing. The next group is all about helping them to get started working with you. So some kind of route map document that says, here's what's going to happen over the next few weeks or months. A checklist for the first meeting, a how to get the most out of us guide, which could be another little short book, a quiz or assessment for them to take that they might have had to do anyway as part of working with you, or a set of flashcards with the key principles of what you do, brochures, reference materials. Really nice one is a guarantee certificate that just reiterates what your guarantee to them is. And then finally, of course, the stuff that everybody thinks about, which is the branded stuff. You know, the hats, the beanies, the t-shirts, the stuff they're going to use on a daily basis, like mugs, desk mats, and USB sticks. By the way, it says desk mat, not mouse mat. I recently got for myself a desk mat, which is on my desk now, which sits underneath my keyboard and my mouse. And it is, it's a good 30 inches by 16, so it is much bigger than a mouse mat. And it's much more likely to be used, much more likely to be seen, and you could print your entire route map onto that. So I mentioned at the top of that second column, the route map. Here's the process that we go through here, or here's my framework for results. You could get that printed onto a desk mat to put on their desk for them. Relevant but fun items like the blanket for the wealth financial advisor, or the flashlight for the roofing contractor, and then the kind of stuff that we think about a lot of the time, pens, calculators, things like that. In that category of relevant but fun items, by the way, I would include that little maze. Why? Because if your message is, I'm going to help you navigate the maze of whatever, then suddenly you've got an excuse for sending them that little maze puzzle. So as I say, you're not putting 20 or 30 things in, you're just going to pick half a dozen items that you can put into that pack. And then when it comes to delivering it, you are not going to put it in the mail, you're going to use a courier. Why? Because at least once in a world outside of COVID, the courier knocks on the door and hands it to them and puts it in their hands versus just leaving it in the mailbox. So again, using a courier increases that wow factor, because now it's being hand delivered to them. Now, your options are, you can put that all together yourself and order 50 pens from Vistaprint or from a local printer or whatever, or you can use a done-for-you services. There are many done-for-you services out there. Many of them have pre-done options where they've already put together a typical shock and awe box that you can just order, and they'll just print it with they'll ask you for your logos and whatever you want on the items, or you can hand curate it. But here are the services that I've come across over the last few years. Brand Elevate. Now, I checked last night and their site is down at the moment. I think that's just a technical problem. I believe they are still in business. It might just be that they are flooded, because I believe they are the people responsible for Ryan Deiss's Traffic and Conversion Summit, which is just coming up. And so they are probably incredibly busy and their site is probably overwhelmed. So brandelevate.com. Kit by USP. They are, as I say, they are one of those companies that has pre-done and custom options. Swagup.com. They created that employee welcome pack I showed you. If you're in the UK, there's swag-box.co.uk. North America, again, there's brilliantmade.com and packlane.com. So check them out. One thing is always remember you need to allow time for these things. Just because you need them in a hurry does not make it a priority for them. They have to get everything set up. Most of these companies also they'll either have a setup cost, or it will be hidden in decreasing cost as you order more and more of an item. So if you order 50 of an item, it will cost you a lot more per item than if you order 500 of them. So allow time, and also think about the quantities that you are going to order. And that does bring us to another question, which is how much does all of this cost? And the answer is, as long it's as long as a piece of string. How long is a piece of string? Really, you can spend whatever your budget will allow. And a way to look at it is, if you're sending these to people who have already signed up as customers, you can afford to spend a lot more because you know you're getting the money in from them. If you are sending them to prospects, then you've got to figure out what impact this has on conversion, and therefore what you can afford to spend to increase your conversion by that much. And let me tell you, it will increase conversion if you send these things to leads. I cannot tell you by how much because I don't know what business you're in. But a bubble mailer full of flat swag, that kind of thing, is probably going to cost typically $8 to $20 or more, depending on what you put in it. A fully fledged WOW box like this is probably going to cost $20 to $80 or more. I've seen packs that cost in excess of $100. Particularly if you start to put in electronic gizmos, like USB sticks and chargers and things like that. And the video players obviously push it up. So you're going to spend $20, $80 upwards. And then there's shipping on top of that. And here I will share my personal lesson, which is that shipping overseas hurts. It hurts a lot. Last year, I was sending out a welcome pack that consisted of a book, a hat, a journal, and book, hat, and journal, and a welcome letter. And shipping, the pack itself would cost us about $20 to send shipped within the US. But another $20 or $30 on top of that when it was shipped overseas. So that was painful. But that's another reason for not announcing these things. If people don't know they're coming, then you can choose, am I going to send it to this person or not, based on location? As I say, these shock and awe boxes are some of my favorite ways of marketing. You can use them to welcome new clients. You can use them to get your message in front of very high-level whale clients, your Dream 100 clients. You can use them for referrals. Let's say you've got a client that you're enjoying working with, and at some point you have a conversation with them along the lines of, hey, I know you're having a great experience working with us, and at some point you're probably going to want to tell someone about it. So here are 3 of our information packs, just like the one that you got. And if you're talking to someone and you think they're a good fit, then just tell them, here's my financial advisor's information kit and his book. He's the advisor I trust with all my finances. I think you'll find this really interesting. And then you repeat that script to them a few times so that you know that they've got it. And now you've given away 3 of those packs to a good client who is happy so that they can make a referral for you. Which brings us to the Income Accelerating Referral Challenge. It is absolutely free. It is happening on the 27th to the 1st of October of this year. And we will spend 5 days creating a referral machine I will share several types of referral machine that you can set up and help you to choose the right one for your clients and your business. It is, as it says, free to sign up. The link is www.thestandartexpert.com/5DRC, 5-day referral challenge. I hope I will see you at the challenge. And I also hope that I will see you a few weeks after that at the Standard Expert Academy live online. Just as a reminder, the Academy sign-up page is www.thestandartexpert.com/SOE-reg, Standard Expert registration. That's it for this week's masterclass. It went on a little bit longer than I intended. As I said, though, I do love these wow packs and shock and awe boxes, and I do have to rein myself in when I'm talking about them. So I will see you next week for our masterclass. Have a fantastic weekend. Until then, I'm Rob Questa, or in fact, I'm the Rob Questa. Bye for now.